Hey everyone, my name is Lizzie and today we'll be talking about making wine from grape juice. So I decided, since I cannot squish any grapes in my backyard and I do not want to buy a bunch from the grocery stores, I will, instead of crushing grapes, I will make wine from grape juice. And I use one from the store, so it's a regular box, 2 liters, and I used 2 of these boxes, added some sugar, yeast, and I waited 3 weeks to taste it. And yesterday, I must admit, I did not like the taste. So it did not taste like wine. It tasted like grape juice mixed with sugar, mixed with a little bit of old flavors. So I'm here to troubleshoot this. And I'm wondering, is it because the fermentation is not over? So I waited 3 weeks, and usually I wait 4 weeks for the fermentation to end. So I tasted it a week early. However, the best way to know if your fermentation is over is with a hydrometer that I have here. So the hydrometer, what it does, it measures the level of sugar in your alcohol. And once there's no more sugar or a little bit of sugar left, that means that all your potential alcohol is produced. What this means in visual terms is that you'll have a cylinder here. You put in the liquid, so this could be water, alcohol, juice. And once you put in the hydrometer in, your hydrometer should float roughly around 1 to 0.990, so at the top here. If your hydrometer is floating a little higher, this means that there's a lot more sugar that the yeast can still transform into alcohol. And at the beginning, your hydrometer level should be around here. So for this wash, the wine wash, the starting gravity was at 1.094. 1.094 meaning 1.094. Around the bottom of the green area over here. So that's optimal. You want your hydrometer to float low. If you want it to have more alcohol or to be sweeter, therefore adding more sugar, your hydrometer is initially going to float higher in the water. If you want it less sugary or lower percentage of alcohol, you prefer drier drinks, you can add less sugar and your hydrometer will float closer to the level of water. Therefore, I would say that the usual floating initially would be around the green line here. If you want it more dry, you can go to the orange line or the upper levels here, but you'll produce less alcohol as well. And just a little anecdote, the first time I made alcohol, I prefer sweet alcohol, so I added the most sugar possible, and I added so much sugar that the hydrometer was floating here. Like it wasn't even on the hydrometer scale, so I had to remove some of the wash and add more water to dilute the sugar. And the amount of sugar that you add is based on your preference. However, the more sugar you add does not necessarily mean the sweeter your alcohol will be. The sugar will affect the percentage of your alcohol. However, this sugar can affect the sweetness of your alcohol if the yeast has eaten all the sugar and the yeast is not capable of producing any more alcohol. Let's say the yeast can produce up to a maximum of 20% alcohol and you have reached that 20%, then all the exceeding sugar will translate into sweetness. And the sugar can either be white sugar, yellow sugar, brown sugar. So you can use different types of sugar, even honey, if you want to make mead. And sugar is a good indicator of how strong your alcohol is going to be and how sweet it's going to be. However, if you want to make sure that you just add sweetness and you do not add more alcohol to your brew, you can add non-fermentable sugars. And it's non-fermentable because the yeast has a hard time transforming the sugar into alcohol. Therefore, the more sugar you add will not lead to more alcohol. It would just lead to a sweeter home brew. So let's take the grape juice home brew here. I'll show it to you. This is what it looks like. So it's the color of grape juice. It's still bubbling a bit. And I want to make sure that what I tasted yesterday is not the final product, because if it is, honestly, it's not my best. And I've added the same yeast, so EC1118. I've added the same amount of sugar to have my starting gravity revolve around the green area of the hydrometer. And I've put it in a warm environment. However, in my opinion, the fermentation wasn't done. So yesterday, what I did for 12 hours, I put this jar inside a warm room just to activate the yeast. I stirred it up to make sure that all the potential sugar or the leftover sugar will be eaten by the yeast, because once the yeast is active, therefore it eats sugar at a quicker rate and more alcohol is produced. So now we're just gonna test it officially with the hydrometer and see if it's done. honestly, when I smell it, it does not smell like alcohol. It smells like grape juice. So that's not a good sign. I'm not sure if much alcohol has been produced, but let's test it with the hydrometer to be certain. So we'll take the hydrometer out of the cylinder, put the liquid inside to roughly 3/4 of the cylinder to make sure there's space for the hydrometer. And we can transfer the liquid with this suction pump here. I really recommend this suction pump because initially I had another suction pump and it wasn't transferring the liquids as I'd liked. And the links are in the description below for the suction pump. You can purchase it. So we're gonna transfer the liquid from the fermenting jar to the cylinder. I added a little bit too much in the cylinder, so let's just put some back in the jar. Okay, so that's good. And if you look at the color, so you do not see my hand across it. Therefore, the yeast has been present in this homebrew, and we'll see to what point has the yeast worked so far. For the moment of truth, oh wow. Okay, the hydrometer is actually touching the bottom of the cylinder. Therefore, I would add a little more liquid to make sure that the hydrometer either floats or if it still goes down, that means that the drink is done. So after adding the little bit more juice, it's pretty much done. As you can see, we only see the tip of the hydrometer, and this means that if you only see the tip of the hydrometer, there is no more potential sugar to be eaten by the yeast. And to be exact, the final gravity is at 1.000. So I did not test this with a hydrometer yesterday. I'm just gonna taste it again today and see, do I like it now or is it the same taste as yesterday? Let's take a little sip. Of the drink here. Whoa, cheers. It's the same taste. So in my opinion, the grape juice is really strong. And when you smell it, you only smell the grape juice. So since it's grape juice mixed with a little bit of alcohol because it's a little bitter, there is alcohol. However, the flavors aren't blending well. I'm sure that if this was done with actual grapes, it would be better. And so there's multiple culprits here. It can either be the grape juice, either the sugar. So this time I use white sugar. If I had used brown sugar instead, the taste will be different. Or it could be the yeast that was used. So we have all of these aspects are part of the ingredients, and the ingredients are done prior to fermentation. Therefore, once you want to make alcohol, the most important thing for the taste of your alcohol is the ingredients that you use. Therefore, the yeast, the sugar that you use, and the liquid that you're using. And what I usually do to make wine, I use water and sugar. However, I've occasionally used juice. And when I used apple juice, it tasted like wine and cider. However, with this grape juice, the taste is different. The grape juice drink is very powerful. And let me know in the comments below if you've tried to make wine from grape juice. What grape juice do you use? I know there are different types. There's also Welch. Or are you the type to prefer using grapes, actual grapes that you crush with your feet for your home brewing? The main difference between this home brew using grape juice and the other home brew using apple juice was the brown sugar. Therefore, next time, in order to fix this issue, I would use brown sugar and not white sugar to make the alcohol. And if you'd like to book a class, the link is in the description below. We make different experiments, we do trials and errors, and you can know what works, what doesn't, to make your home brew taste better each and every time. And if you found this video valuable, share with a friend. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.